They didn't even try to hide their smirks. I stood there, holding my glass of water like it was a shield, listening to my cousin Gloria say it again, louder this time, so the entire living room could hear. "You can't sit with us. You're not rich." Everyone laughed, even Uncle Peter, the same man who used to hold my hand at church when I was a little girl. He laughed. "My name is Angela. I'm 52 years old. And that day, I didn't cry. Not like I used to. I just stood there and watched my family, my blood, snub me at our annual family meeting like I was some outsider who had wandered in off the street. It was hosted at Aunt Melissa's mansion again this year. Floor-to-ceiling glass, a chandelier the size of a small car, and velvet chairs that looked like they belonged in a royal palace. They wore designer labels like it was a uniform, flicking their Cartier bracelets and flaunting diamond rings, each one trying to outshine the other. I wore a navy blouse from the department store, not because I couldn't afford better, but because I no longer needed to prove anything. Still, the moment Gloria said those words, something shifted in me. She had always been like that, cruel with a smile, wealthy by inheritance, not effort. Her father, my Uncle Raymond, had left her 3 condos and 2 vacation homes before he passed. She never let anyone forget it. "I'm not surprised Angela's still renting," she added, sipping champagne. "You know, she never really got the money, Jean." More laughter. I looked around. My sister, Beth, avoided my eyes. My cousins all stayed seated, scrolling through their phones, pretending not to hear. The shame would have crushed me 10 years ago, but I'm not the woman I was 10 years ago. I cleared my throat. Actually, I came to this meeting with something to share. Their eyes rolled in unison. "Oh?" Gloria smirked. "What, your coupon book?" The room chuckled, but I didn't flinch. I pulled my phone from my purse and tapped on the portfolio app. My tenants call me Miss Angela. Some of them send me holiday cards. One even brought me a Bible last Easter. I own 14 properties across 3 states, 2 commercial, the rest residential, all paid off, no mortgages. The room froze. I don't talk much. I don't dress to impress. And I've never flaunted a credit card limit. But every brick in those buildings, every lawn I mowed myself in the early days, every late-night repair call, I earned it. Uncle Peter coughed. Aunt Melissa leaned forward. I wasn't finished. I built my wealth in silence, while you laughed at me for driving a 10-year-old car. I bought duplexes. When you joked about my job at the diner, I used tips to make my first down payment. Gloria's smile vanished. And while you were buying luxury handbags, I was buying land. I never told you, because I never needed your approval. Silence. Real, heavy silence. Then Gloria scoffed. That's cute, but you're still not one of us. I nodded slowly. You're right, I'm not. Because I didn't inherit anything, I built it. I turned to leave, but then I paused at the door. The stone which the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. My voice cracked. It's from the Book of Psalms. Look it up. And I walked out. I didn't even touch the appetizers. The truth is, they never really saw me. Not when I was a teenager helping Mom pay the bills. Not when I worked double shifts as a waitress while Beth went off to college. Not when I bought my first one-bedroom house in a forgotten part of town. They only started noticing when I stopped showing up. But that wasn't out of pride. It was survival. My world doesn't look like theirs. I wake up before the sun. My hands have calluses. I talk to tenants who struggle to pay rent. And I listen. I don't wear heels. I wear purpose. The neighborhood where I live is quiet, shaded by old oak trees. My house is modest, brick, clean, always smells like cinnamon. There's a Bible by the window and a photo of my late father on the kitchen counter. He taught me to fix pipes and balance a checkbook, never raised his voice, but his silence could carry a sermon. My tenants, they're a mirror of who I used to be. Mrs. Torres lives in one of my duplexes. She lost her husband last year, keeps her garden spotless, bakes muffins for her grandkids, and leaves a basket for me every Sunday. James, a single father of two, pays me every month without fail. Sometimes I let the rent slide a week when his hours get cut. Not because I'm soft, but because someone once did that for me. You see, it's not just real estate, it's dignity. It's faith in brick and mortar. It's remembering who I was and who I never want to become. When I drive by my properties, I don't see buildings. I see lives I've touched. I met Carla, my property manager, at a community workshop on first-time home buying. She was sharp, tough as nails, divorced, with 2 teenage boys. We hit it off. I offered her a job, and she's been with me ever since. "Don't you ever get tired of being the quiet one?" she asked me once. I smiled. "Quiet doesn't mean weak," she nodded. "Still, you ought to let them know who they're dealing with." That's what the family meeting was supposed to be about. I hadn't been in years. But this year, Aunt Melissa insisted, said it was time we all came together again. She didn't know that in the silence of the last decade, I'd turned my borrowed life into an empire. They live in high towers. I built mine from the ground up. It's funny how people define wealth. To them, it's champagne and expensive chairs. To me, it's being able to say no without fear. It's having choices. It's telling a banker, "I'm not interested in another credit card." It's walking into a meeting with lawyers and knowing every term in the contract. I remember the first time a bank manager looked at me differently. I was applying for a loan on my 4th property. He looked at my portfolio and said, "Miss Angela, this is impressive. You don't even need this loan." I smiled. "Then I'll take it anyway, but on my terms." He blinked. So did I. Because that was the moment I realized something had changed. I wasn't desperate anymore. I was deliberate. I wasn't surviving. I was growing. The investigation began. City officials showed up to inspect one of my duplexes, notebooks in hand, stern expressions. I met them at the gate. "You're Miss Angela?" "Yes, sir. Everything is up to code. You're welcome to check." I stood there as they walked through the rooms, opened cabinets, tested smoke alarms. They found nothing. Still, the fear didn't leave me, because I knew this wasn't about paperwork. It was about power. Beth stayed close. She'd begun shadowing me during the day, watching how I managed repairs, spoke to tenants, tracked expenses. "You don't just own buildings," she said. "You run a system." I smiled. "It's called a portfolio." But something shifted in Beth, too. One afternoon, as we reviewed contracts in my office, she confessed, "I'm in debt, Angela. Credit cards, loans. We live like we're rich, but we're drowning." I looked at her, not with pity, but with clarity. "Then stop pretending." She started crying. Real tears. It was the first time in years I had seen her that raw. Meanwhile, Gloria escalated her attacks. She posted online, hinted that I was preying on low-income families, that I was hoarding wealth while others struggled. Carla was livid. "We should sue for defamation." But I shook my head. Let her talk. My tenants know me. The truth walks taller than a rumor. Still, pressure mounted. Some tenants started asking questions. Miss Angela, is everything okay? Are we gonna lose the building? I reassured them all, one by one, with eye contact, with facts, with calm. But at night, I felt the pressure in my chest like a stone. Carla stayed late more often. Beth started helping organize the paperwork. We became a team. Then came the invitation, a private brunch, Gloria's wealth circle. Women only, business-minded. The note ended with, "Dress to impress." Beth handed it to me. "You going?" I nodded. "I am." Carla raised an eyebrow. "You sure that's wise?" "I don't want war," I said. "But I'm not hiding either." 2 days after the family meeting, Beth called me. She never calls. "Angela, what you said at the meeting, it shook people up." I stayed silent. She continued, "Gloria's been saying you made the whole thing up, that there's no portfolio, that you rented a suit just to play pretend." I chuckled. Let her talk. She's organizing another gathering, private, just the business owners this time. I paused. "And you?" "I'm not invited either." Something tightened in my chest. Beth and I had grown apart after Mom died. She married into a well-off family and kept a safe distance ever since. But now, her voice sounded smaller, like the sister I used to share a room with. "I want to understand what you did, Angela. How you went from serving coffee to owning buildings." I took a breath. "I didn't buy lattes. I bought land. I didn't chase status. I chased cash flow." She went quiet. Then, "Can you teach me?" It was a moment I never saw coming. But with every miracle comes resistance. 3 days later, I received a letter, a cease and desist, from Gloria's lawyer, claiming I defamed her at a family event, damaged her public reputation, and was fraudulently impersonating a real estate investor. I almost laughed, but the weight of the envelope hit harder than expected. Carla was furious. "She's trying to scare you." "It's working," I admitted. But Carla wasn't done. "Let her try. You have the deeds, the titles, the tax returns. You are the real deal. They just can't handle it." I nodded, but deep down, an old fear stirred. What if they dragged my name through the mud? What if the tenants got scared? What if the lenders questioned me? I had built everything with care, but Gloria had connections, money, and venom. Then came the phone call. A woman from the community board committee. "Miss Angela, we were told you might be operating illegal rental units." The words stung like acid. Gloria was coming after me, and she wasn't playing nice. I spent the next week gathering paperwork, speaking to lawyers, and praying harder than I had in years. One night, I sat alone in my kitchen, hands shaking over a pile of documents. I opened my Bible. It landed on Isaiah 54:17. "No weapon formed against you shall prosper." I whispered it, again and again, until I believed it. The investigation began. City officials showed up to inspect one of my duplexes. Notebooks in hand, stern expressions. I met them at the gate. "You're Miss Angela?" "Yes, sir. Everything is up to code." "You're welcome to check." I stood there as they walked through the rooms, opened cabinets, tested smoke alarms. They found nothing. Still, the fear didn't leave me, because I knew this wasn't about paperwork. It was about power. Beth stayed close. She'd begun shadowing me during the day, watching how I managed repairs, spoke to tenants, tracked expenses. "You don't just own buildings," she said. "You run a system." I smiled. "It's called a portfolio." But something shifted in Beth, too. One afternoon, as we reviewed contracts in my office, she confessed, "I'm in debt, Angela. Credit cards, loans. We live like we're rich, but we're drowning." I looked at her, not with pity, but with clarity. "Then stop pretending." She started crying. Real tears. It was the first time in years I'd seen her that raw. Meanwhile, Gloria escalated her attacks. She posted online, hinted that I was preying on low-income families, that I was hoarding wealth while others struggled. Carla was livid. "We should sue for defamation?" But I shook my head. Let her talk. My tenants know me. The truth walks taller than a rumor. Still, pressure mounted. Some tenants started asking questions. "Miss Angela, is everything okay? Are we going to lose the building?" I reassured them all, one by one, with eye contact, with facts, with calm. But at night, I felt the pressure in my chest like a stone. Carla stayed late more often. Beth started helping organize the paperwork. We became a team. Then came the invitation, a private brunch, Gloria's Wealth Circle, women only, business-minded. The note ended with, "Dress to impress." Beth handed it to me. "You going?" I nodded. "I am." Carla raised an eyebrow. "You sure that's wise?" "I don't want war," I said, but I'm not hiding either. The brunch was held in a private hall with crystal chandeliers and gold-plated cutlery. Classical music played in the background. The air smelled of expensive perfume and quiet arrogance. I wore the same navy blouse. As I walked in, heads turned. Gloria stood near the center, surrounded by women in tailored suits and designer shoes. Her lips curved into a tight smile when she saw me. "Angela," she said, voice dripping honey, "you made it." I said I would. She gestured to an empty seat, slightly outside the main circle. I didn't move toward it. "I'll stand, thanks." She blinked. "Suit yourself." Then she began. For those of you who don't know, this gathering is for women with significant holdings, real investments, not side hustles or, well, dreams. I felt every eye glance toward me, but I didn't flinch. Gloria continued. "We've all built something here, legacies, and today, we open our portfolios for discussion, strategy, lessons, growth." One by one, the women presented retail, crypto, inherited stocks, fashion brands backed by old money. Then it was my turn. I walked to the center. 14 properties, 0 debt, all cash flowing. My portfolio was built one tenant at a time. My first property came from a waitress tip jar. My second from refinancing smart. I don't have investors. I don't have a rich spouse. I have grit. Gasps rippled through the room. I continued. Last month, one of my tenants lost his job. I reduced his rent by half because I could. Because I built flexibility into my numbers. That's real power. One woman clapped, then another. Soon, the room echoed with applause. Gloria's jaw tightened. I turned to her. "You tried to break me. You tried to humiliate me. But I stand here because I didn't build my wealth for status. I built it to serve, to survive, to give." She stepped forward, eyes dark. "You're not like us." I nodded. "Number, I'm not." And I turned to leave. As I reached the door, a woman from the crowd caught my arm. "Miss Angela," she whispered, "do you mentor?" That moment shattered the hierarchy. I wasn't just the rejected cousin anymore. I was a force. The brunch changed everything. Calls started coming in the next day. A local podcast wanted to interview me about building wealth from scratch. A youth shelter asked if I could speak to their girls about financial independence. A church group invited me to host a workshop. I said yes to all of them. Beth was the first to notice. "You're becoming visible," I laughed. "It's uncomfortable." But the truth, it felt good. Not the attention, but the freedom. The freedom to speak without fear, to share without begging to be heard. And then, something I never expected. A letter, handwritten, from Gloria. I opened it with trembling fingers. "Angela, I don't like losing, but I respect what you've done. You didn't just talk, you showed us. Still, some of us don't know how to say sorry out loud. So, this is the best I can do. I hope it's enough. Gloria." There was no apology, but there was a crack in her armor. Beth held the letter, reading it twice. Wow, that's the most humble I've ever seen her. "I don't need her to be humble," I said. "I just need her to stop attacking." And she did. The smear campaign stopped, the gossip went silent, the lawyers disappeared. In the absence of war, something new began to grow. Beth started budgeting. She sold her second car, canceled her luxury subscriptions. She even asked if we could partner on a property. "I want to earn it," she said. I looked into her eyes. "You will." Carla expanded our operations. We hired a part-time bookkeeper. I started mentoring 2 women from the shelter. One of them now manages one of my smaller complexes. At night, I prayed, not for more wealth, but for more wisdom. One Sunday morning, after church, Mrs. Torres handed me a box. "I made this for you." Inside was a hand-stitched cloth with embroidered words. Proverbs 31:25. "She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come." I cried right there on the steps because for the first time in years, I believed it. Growth wasn't a finish line. It was a daily choice. I still woke up early, still answered phone calls at odd hours, still dealt with leaky pipes and tenant disputes. But something inside me had changed. I no longer felt small. Beth and I bought our first property together 6 months after the brunch. A small duplex on a quiet street. She wanted to back out twice, said it felt too risky. "You used to be fearless," she told me. "No," I said. "I used to be desperate. Now I'm focused." We painted the walls ourselves, met every contractor, negotiated every repair. It wasn't easy, but we laughed a lot. One evening, as we were sealing the final lease, Beth looked at me and said, "I get it now. This isn't about money, it's about control." "Exactly," I smiled. "Control over your time, your choices, your peace." That same month, Carla came to me with a proposal. "Let's start a training program," she said. "For women like us, no fluff, just the truth, real steps, real strategy." We launched the first session in the community center's basement. 10 women showed up, then 20, then 40. We called it Brick by Brick. And we told them everything. No shortcuts, no tricks, just truth, math, and mindset. One night after class, a woman with 2 kids pulled me aside. "My husband left me with debt and no home. But tonight, for the first time, I feel like I have options." I hugged her because I knew that feeling too well. Even Gloria changed in her own way. She didn't apologize publicly, but she invited me to a charity event, introduced me as the most determined woman I know. That was enough. Maybe more than enough. The woman who once said, "You can't sit with us," had unknowingly made room for me at the table. But I no longer needed their table. I was building my own. One afternoon, I got a call from City Hall. "Miss Angela, we're creating a small business advisory board. Your name came highly recommended." I almost dropped the phone. Me? The quiet one? The girl they laughed at for renting and wearing clearance clothes? Yes, I said. I'd be honored. The following week, I sat in a room filled with professionals, bankers, lawyers, executives. I spoke about housing, about equity, about what it really takes to build something from scratch when you don't have a trust fund or a rich last name. The room listened. And after the meeting, a woman in pearls pulled me aside. You know, I used to believe wealth was inheritance, but you proved it can be grit. I smiled. Thank you. Later that night, I sat in my quiet kitchen, sipping tea. A letter sat on the table, handwritten again. This time from a woman named Lydia, one of the ladies from Brick by Brick. She wrote, Miss Angela, I bought my first property today. My kids helped paint the walls. You changed our future. May God bless you tenfold. I folded the letter and held it to my chest. Then Beth called. You ready for the big event? We were organizing the first Women in Wealth conference at the community center. Carla had secured sponsors. Beth had designed the program. I was the keynote speaker. Me, but then the unexpected. A letter from a law firm, Gloria's name at the top. It wasn't a threat. It was a proposal. A formal request to join our program as a guest speaker. My hands trembled. She wants in, Carla said. Of course she does, now that it's visible. I nodded slowly, but not for a spotlight. No, Beth said. We make her earn it. We decided she could join, but only if she started as a student. No special seats, no titles, just learning. And to our surprise, she agreed. The conference hall was full, over 200 women, some in suits, some in jeans, all with notebooks open and eyes shining. Carla opened the event. Beth managed the logistics. And I stood backstage, clutching my speech, breathing deep. Then I heard them call my name. Please welcome Miss Angela. The applause was thunderous. I stepped onto the stage, lights warm on my face, heart steady. And I spoke. I used to think I was small, that I didn't belong at any table, that I needed permission to be heard. But I was wrong. I looked across the crowd. Your past doesn't disqualify you. Your debt doesn't define you. Your age isn't a barrier. You don't need a banker's blessing. You need a blueprint and belief. Heads nodded. Tears were wiped. Pens scribbled furiously. I continued, wealth is not loud, it's steady. It's quiet nights, smart decisions, sacrifice. Is what happens when you choose faith over fear, over and over again. Then I saw her, Gloria, in the back row, taking notes. Not a sound from her. And suddenly, I felt something deeper than victory. I felt peace, the kind of peace that doesn't need revenge, that doesn't chase applause, the kind that stands on faith like solid ground. I finished my speech with a verse I'd memorized in the hardest nights. She considers a field and buys it with... It's been 2 years since that conference. We now run 3 brick by brick programs in different cities, each one filled with women, learning, building, breaking cycles of silence and fear. Beth and I co-own 5 properties now. She's found a new rhythm. Less show, more substance. Sometimes she even teaches part of the class. Carla, she's a partner now. We laugh about those early days, the chaos, the doubt, the miracle that came from hard soil. Gloria never reclaimed her old throne, but she became something better. Humble, helpful. She shows up, she listens, and she never again said, you can't sit with us. Because we don't sit to divide. We gather to grow. The wealth I built didn't start with money. It started with courage, with saying no when others said I should give in, with doing what was right, even when no one clapped. Today, I walk into banks with confidence, but I still drive my old car, still wear simple clothes, still open the door for my tenants and say, "How can I help?" Because wealth, real wealth, is never about status. It's about service. It's about the legacy you leave in people's hearts, not their eyes. And when I sit alone in the quiet of my home, I often whisper a prayer. Thank you, Lord, for the stone they rejected, because it became the foundation. And I smile, because I was that stone. And now I am the cornerstone.